It has been almost 7 months since Vancouver's Mayor Ken Sim and then Police Chief Adam Palmer announced Task Force Barrage to, quote, dismantle organized crime networks and target predatory criminals in the Downtown Eastside. So on Monday, weeks away from winding down, the mayor says the $5 million task force was worth it.
Violent crime in the Downtown Eastside and across the city is down significantly. As of today, our numbers are the same as they were in 2002. That's a 23-year low. So I want that to sink in. A 23-year low. Turns out, when you make investments in public safety, the streets get safer.
So that was Vancouver's Mayor Ken Sim on Monday. And joining us now is Rebecca Bligh, an independent Vancouver City Councillor. And we've caught up with her in Edmonton today. Hello there.
Hi, Gloria. Nice to be with you.
Now, what went through your mind as you watched Monday's news conference with the mayor and the heads of Vancouver Police and Fire Rescue?
I must just want to start first and foremost. I must say the members in the Vancouver Police Department and in the Vancouver Fire Department are doing an excellent job. They're showing up on the front lines every single day in one of the most challenging environments in the country, in fact. And the results they've produced under those conditions, taking weapons off the street, responding to the overdose calls, keeping people safe, that is real work. And they deserve the credit, and I give them all the credit for it. The problem is that the mayor is taking credit for their work instead of doing his own job as mayor. You know, his job isn't to run a PR campaign around arrest numbers. His job is to lead and to tackle those root causes. We're 3 years into our term, and I haven't seen any progress on that front. So yes, crime is down, but let's be honest about it. And it was cited at the in various follow-up articles that crime is down across the entire city, not just in the Downtown Eastside. And that trend was already happening before Task Force Barrage was launched. So when the mayor tries to spin this as his success, what he's really doing is cherry picking numbers to sell a story, not tell a story. And that's the frustration that I've had since the press conference yesterday, because what he's not actually talking about is that housing is more unaffordable than ever, and the supply of affordable below market housing is limited and has since been cut off by his decision in the spring. The toxic drug supply is killing people at record rates. Families are waiting months for basic mental health supports. None of that is solved by Task Force Barrage, absolutely none of it. So I would like to see the mayor put the same level of energy into building affordable housing, expanding these programs, making sure frontline services that aren't related to public safety, social services, are supported by the city. And otherwise, what we're seeing right now is just this political spin. And if we funded all those programs, our police and fire would have a much easier job to do. Because right now, what we see is that they're running from overdose to overdose. They wouldn't be stretched to the breaking point that we're hearing about, answering calls that social services at the end of the day should be handling. So this is really where the rubber hits the road, because the reality is he's measuring success in arrests and not in the improvement of people's lives. And to me, that's not leadership. It's just political theater. And if you go down to the Downtown Eastside today, you'll see exactly what I mean.
Well, again, what have you seen or heard from people about what difference the task force actually had on life in the Downtown Eastside?
I'm not hearing that it's had any difference other than one piece, and that is people have seen more police, more boots on the ground. So, and I commend our officers in the police department for walking the beat. That's what people have been asking for a very long time. Out of the vehicles and connecting with people in the community both gives reassurance to residents, to businesses, and it's just a better connection, a human connection with people, eyes on the street, making sure that things can feel safer. But that is police work. And, you know, the reality is we need to talk about resources here. Vancouver already spends more on policing than any other major Canadian city. So today, nearly 20% of our entire city budget goes to police, compared to an average of about 10% in comparable cities across the country. And the police budget now is on track to hit almost $500 million in the next couple of years. So the question is, with crime already trending down, why is the mayor pouring more and more of our limited dollars into short-term enforcement instead of long-term solutions?
Well,
Because that's really what we're finding, and studies across Canada show that higher police spending does not guarantee less crime over the long term.
Well, talking longer term, we did have a conversation with ABC councillor Lenny Zhou earlier this week, who says he plans to introduce a motion to create Vanstat as a next step after Task Force Barrage. Just listen to what he had to say.
The motion will be calling for all the key stakeholders coming together. It will bring housing, sanitation, fire rescue, art and culture, and business services, as well as Vancouver Police Department. So let's come together and review on a monthly basis. And it's a monthly operation and also monthly accountability. So that's the motion is about. We can do a pilot in the 4 different neighborhoods and make sure that we review this data and then react in a timely manner to support public safety for the residents.
Okay, so when you hear from Lenny Zhou, they're looking at collecting data in different neighborhoods around the city. Would you support or oppose a motion like that?
You know, my mind immediately goes to the amount of dollars spent in the Downtown Eastside, the advocacy groups that are calling for fundamental transformational change in terms of how we approach the challenges that are in the Downtown Eastside. A business owner, Brandon from Pigeon, wrote an excellent op-ed outlining what's to do. And one of the things that he said, and I hear consistently, is we don't need another study. We don't need more stats collected. We can see exactly what's happening if you just spend time in the Downtown Eastside. So even if a fraction of the funding that has gone into the police budget over the last 2 years went into housing supports, if the mayor didn't say no to any new supportive housing and no to extending the leases in the temporary modular housing, this is the housing that folks need in order to come in off the street so that they can get the supports that they need. It shows that housing reduces crime. We know that mental health care does not work unless people have housing. And if we did all of that, our first responders would have a much easier job. Our communities would be fundamentally stronger and safer in the long run. And so while I appreciate this Vanstats, the proof will be in the pudding, because as it stands right now, all I've heard from the mayor is that's not my job. That's the provincial government. That's the federal government. And I can tell you, we can debate about whether or not the city should be run by like a business or not all day. But at the end of the day, that's what the mayor said he was going to do. And I can tell you right now, at a critical point in any business, saying that's not my job does not fly. So what we need is a mayor that's going to show up at regional meetings, is going to show up at intergovernmental tables, and be able to advocate for the real supports and funding that the residents of our city needs. Because right now we are in a reactive enforcement habit, and we have not been able to move the needle on real prevention. And at the end of the day, Vancouverites, that's their number one concern. When polled, their number one concern is housing. Their second top polled concern is homelessness. So I would just like to see leadership for our city, the leadership that Vancouver deserves, to be focusing on the solutions that are going to drive that. Because if Vanstat spends the next 6 months, 8 months reporting out the status quo, I don't think we're going to have anything to show for it. So we actually need leadership that's going to deal with the big picture and that invests in the prevention. And that gives our first responders the support they need, instead of leaving them to carry the whole burden, which I've been witnessing for almost my entire time on council. We cannot police our way out of this housing crisis. You cannot arrest your way out of a toxic drug crisis. You cannot handcuff your way out of mental health. So until the mayor gets serious about those root causes, The burden's going to stay on police and fire. And at the end of the day, Vancouverites will keep paying the price. And we have to be realistic about what we can afford as a city. So that's going to be my focus. I'll see the motion when it comes. I'll look at it to see if it's going to move the needle. But we are 75% into this term, and there's not a whole lot to show for it in terms of real results.
Well, you know, the last mayor, Kennedy Stewart, was criticized for not doing enough on crime. Ken Sim, he's delivering on exactly what he campaigned on. So, I mean, don't you see that as an indication that this is what voters in Vancouver want?
Well, I think the 94-point plan that ABC put forward that I also ran on is not entirely putting more and more and more funding into police. It was 94 points, and those included increasing the number of supportive housing units across the city. But the mayor's backtracked on that. That's one significant example. And so the reality is that the engagement on these issues requires real work. There was a massive press conference on Task Force Barrage, which was reporting out police doing police work. But there was nothing to show for what the mayor has done as mayor of the city to take on the rest of the challenges that we need leadership on. So yes, there is a commitment there to public safety, but that's one out of 94 points that we ran on. Where's the results on the rest of the platform?
Now, I understand that you are in Edmonton wearing a different hat today. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, I can, and we are here today with the federal government to announce a almost $86 million investment in the Green Municipal Fund. Of course, it's Green Buildings Week this week, and we have a sustainable housing fund as part of the Green Municipal Fund at FCM, and we are thrilled to be partnering with the federal government to invest in sustainable housing across our country to the tune of $85.5 million.
Well, what is that going to mean for the Vancouver area, Rebecca?
Well, we have 186 capital projects and pilot projects that are being identified as part of this funding envelope. I will say that that is an important piece of how we can show leadership at the city. We have a federal government that is looking for shovel-ready projects. We could be putting forward a list of city-owned land that is shovel-ready for investment in affordable housing. And so my hope is I'm here with this announcement. I'll be coming back to Vancouver tonight to hit the ground running and see what we can do to work with our city staff to identify where those sites are. We can start to look at investment. The Green Municipal Fund is a fund that Vancouver has access to and benefited from for close to 25 years on a number of different projects. I have no doubt our city staff will have their eye on application deadlines and getting in those submissions to make sure that we're able to invest in sustainable housing for the future of our city.
Really a pleasure to connect with you today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the time. Sorry.
Rebecca Bligh is an independent Vancouver City Councillor. Again, your thoughts always welcome on the coast at cbc.ca.